Hello, and welcome to yet another tier list video. This is gonna be a part 2. Part 1 is gonna be down in the description, and this is basically going to be a tier list made for every single hero in Heroes 3 JOI version. Part 1 was all about ranking the towns, how well they do, how consistent they are, and this time around I'm gonna go into a lot more detail for every single town and actually rank every single hero in the template. Now, as you can see, this is a lot of heroes. It took me a long time to organize everything to figure out what I want to do here, but yeah, be sure to take a while. This is gonna be a long video probably, and I hope you enjoy, and I also hope that it helps a lot of people, because a lot of people have been asking me what heroes do you prefer, what heroes do you think are best right now, and I hope this video will shine some light over the template overall. Now, this is of course my own opinion, and yeah, especially at high rating, people can vary opinions a lot. Like, some people might prefer certain heroes over others just because of the playstyle, the way you play, the way you want the game to go. Therefore, make sure you're just playing whatever you like in the end, because I actually think that each and every single one of these heroes can potentially be the best hero for you, as long as you have a certain playstyle for that. However, I'm gonna go and jump right into it, honestly. And first of all, I ranked all the heroes by castles. Then you have the castles on the left. Then it's basically gonna be from like S tier to F tier, you know, never used heroes. But yeah, jumping right into it with castle heroes. You have probably the best hero to start with already, which is Caitlyn. And the reason why I'm gonna place Caitlyn first is that it's obviously a mage meta right now. You get full control right away, therefore if you have a lot of knowledge early on, it's amazing. Caitlyn does get a lot of knowledge usually, and on top of that she has intelligence. Intelligence being one of the best skills that you could possibly have for your hero in this version right now, which is honestly quite amazing. Plus, a lot of people don't realize, but she actually starts with Cure. Cure being a spell that's actually removed from the game right now. And because of that, it's actually quite amazing. The reason for that is Cure can actually dispel Berserk. There is no anti-magic. Anti-magic being removed means that Cure, especially because Cure is removed as well, has really good utility in final fights. And Caitlyn can actually provide that utility really easily if you have a lot of debuffs on you, if you have, like, I don't know, a Curse, Sorrow, and so on, or Disrupting Ray even, and it's really good to have that Cure there. Yeah, so Caitlyn is probably the best hero for castle right now, by far, I would say. Even nothing else really gets close. I mean, I would say the next hero in line, for me particularly at least, is probably gonna be Adella. She is also a cleric, which means that she's gonna get a lot of intelligence and like knowledge really early on. She doesn't actually have intelligence, I'm talking about mana. But yeah, she also starts with diplomacy, which is not a dead skill, which is amazing. Therefore, you have a pretty decent skill tree with her almost all the time. And I was actually tempted to place Loinis as third here, just because he starts with prayer. But Loinis actually has a dead skill, which is learning. And learning can be rather bad, honestly, to say the least. I mean, it does nothing for you. It's a complete dead skill in final fights, and you just get a little bit more XP early on, but that's it. And that prayer doesn't make that huge of a difference to actually place it on the top of the list here. Therefore, after these two heroes, I would say that you actually still go for Sorcerer and Catherine. They do have leadership, which kind of sucks early on, because you want to have earth magic and air magic as soon as possible, but they are might heroes, right? They are knights. They don't get very decent skill trees in terms of magic, so they're not S tier anymore, especially with the swordsman and the crusader nerfs. Now that the boxes are very limited, so you don't get as many, it's not ideal, to say the least, to go for these heroes. And yeah, I would say after this it's probably gonna be Adelaide. Adelaide actually surprisingly does really well. She only starts with wisdom, therefore you can get a really good skill tree very early on. She has advanced wisdom, then she goes into School of Magic very easily, so you're having a good chance to get earth and air at expert by like level 6 or level 7, which is amazing. But I would still not place her higher than this, however. After Adelaide, I would say that you probably have Loines, and honestly, every single other hero here is mainly preference. You might want to play them, you might not want to play them. I don't think any one of them is actually played at a high rating right now, so they're below average heroes. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing them. From these heroes here, I would say that probably Edric might be a decent pick just because of the parrot, the griffin specialty. He also starts with griffins, which is quite nice, and yeah, other than that, it's not really amazing. I mean, you could go Tyrus as well, or Tyrus, I guess, because she is specialized in champions, but like these heroes are already might-based, they don't have knowledge, you cannot use control as much, and in all honesty, you might not even want to actually build into anything as castle, you just want boxes and go straight desert like 1-3-1 or so. But yeah, other than these, everything else is way below average. I would say Orin is probably going to be next just because of the archery specialty. Then literally all the others are pretty much useless. I mean, Ingham I think has Eagle Eye, so he's useless. Then Lord Heart has... what was it? I think it was estate specialty, which might actually not be the worst if you have to pay a lot for castle, but you're not ever going to pick him. Same for Cuthbert as well, estates. Then Ryan and Christian are basically specialized in ballista and tent. So again, way below average. But yeah, that for me is probably the ranking for castle. I do think some of these heroes have the potential to go higher or lower depending on how you play, depending on your playstyle. For instance, I know that some people might prefer to go for Adelaide instead of Caitlyn or Adella just because she doesn't start with a different skill other than wisdom. Therefore, it's easier for her to go into earth and air, so it gives you slightly more tempo early on. But I would always say that Caitlyn's intelligence is going to be way better in terms of tempo early on. And yeah, that's pretty much it for castle. Honestly, I think this is pretty general. I mean, most people go for these heroes here. I don't think there's a lot of variety right now for castle, at least. Rampart, however, honestly is probably one of the towns that actually has a lot of varieties still. I mean, I will try to start with the heroes that are probably most picked, which is going to be Elashar and Aerys. And the reason for that is, first of all, they're both mages. Elashar is probably one of the better heroes right now in the game because of the intelligence specialty that he has. And Aerys starts with scouting, which can be really good to find those early boxes or to find some early artifacts and get you started, which is quite nice, honestly. They're both not really like far apart from each other. It's based on the playstyle that you like, but I know that a lot of people prefer to go Aerys over Elashar. Personally, I would probably go Elashar every game because in the later games, he's always going to be better just because of the mana advantage. And I mean, most of you know me by now, I do like my late games. So Elashar is definitely my personal pick here. But yeah, Aerys can be really good as well. He gets scouting, he gets a lot of early boxes because you see them from far away. He does level up decently as well in my experience so far, so not bad to pick either one of these heroes. I wouldn't say that one of them is better than the other. And then you actually still have Ryland, you have Thorgrim, and you have Genova. Genova, as everyone knows, it was probably the best hero in Age version to pick just because of the archery specialty. You'd get a lot of Grandels, you'd go straight into desert very early on, but she doesn't really have any knowledge ever. However, Ryland has diplomacy early on, he's specialized in trees. He can actually do utopias very early with trees because he's amazing, like he's really good. If you get 1 tree box, you can pretty much go straight into a taupe. And then Thorgrim was actually slightly buffed this patch with the removal of Black Orb. Therefore, it's a lot better to go for Thorgrim right now. But he's still below average. I would say these two heroes are probably next to each other here. Not many people pick these. I've seen it like once or twice being like Ryland or Thorgrim or Genova. But the one hero I would actually like to give some attention to is going to be Euphratin here. I would say that Euphratin is actually something like above Genova and Thorgrim even, just because he starts with interference. Interference is actually a huge deal right now in the game, because interference heroes are the only ones that can actually lower your power by a lot. And being a mage meta, that means that everyone is going to have a ton of power. Therefore, if you have interference, especially if you fight in week 3 or week 4, like month 1 generally, you're going to win most of the games just because your opponent is going to have like -10 or -15 power there, which is amazing. But the problem with him is that he doesn't really have any kind of tempo early on. I mean, dwarf's specialty, he starts with dwarfs, he doesn't get anything really. You have like 7 archers and you're going around, and you basically need like multiple day 1 boxes or like a Grand Elf box that's guarded by nothing to be getting started with him, which is, as I said, not much tempo, not really picked right now. But I've had some games with V13 actually in the late game where he did rather well. I was surprised by how good the hero is overall. And yeah, afterwards, again, just like Castle, there is quite a few heroes that are not exactly ever picked. I mean, Clancy and Melodia. I mean, Clancy is like specialized in unicorns, which could be decent. I think he has resistance as well. But it's not really that great to have Clancy. I mean, I have a hero list on the right side here, and I'm trying to see. Oh no, he actually has interference. Okay, so Clancy might be interesting as well, just like Euphratin, but I feel like nobody really goes for unicorns, so he's definitely gonna be like below Euphratin here, most likely below other heroes. Then yeah, Gem is like specialized in tents, not really good. Melodia as well, it's I think specialized in fortune spell, which is like giving you luck. It's whatever, no one cares. And then you have Allagar and Yuland. I mean, Allagar could honestly be a decent hero. He's probably like above these heroes here because of the Ice Bolt specialty that he starts with as well. And he can get you started for sure, but it's not amazing by any means. Like you get Frost Ring anyway from the bunker right now, so you don't even need like a damaging spell early on, which is whatever for Allagar, I guess. And Yuland, yeah, I think he's like starting with ballistics, so it's whatever, right? Let's see, Yuland. Yeah, he starts with basic wisdom and basic ballistics, so he basically has a completely dead skill that no one cares for really. I mean, it could be somewhat useful if you siege in a final fight, but then again, Ballista dies, then what do? You lose your speed advantage and you have a dead skill. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it for Rampart right now. Like, I would say Elashar and Aerys are the 2 main choices. Then from these 4, you can just pick one if you want to have some fun, but they're not really meta picks right now, so they're not like S tier. So decent, I guess, but they definitely have some variety. I like Rampart in terms of hero balance right now, for sure. And I think it's a pretty decent like setup to go for depending on your playstyle. Going next to Tower. Tower actually has a very controversial hero tier list right now, I would say, because you have Solmir and you have Astral. And I'm gonna say this as a personal opinion. I don't understand why people ever pick Astral. I mean, I see the reasoning behind it, that he doesn't start with a dead skill, sort of, right? Because he only starts with Advanced Wisdom, and the Hypnotize specialty is not terribly bad either. I mean, he can hypnotize units that are like double the HP usually. And I can see the reasoning behind it, but I don't think it's ever on par with Solmir, honestly. Like, Astral, in my opinion, needs a lot of boxes to get started on, but you might have a hard time doing those boxes in the first place, or you might simply get unlucky and have like 5 boxes in your entire biome. Then Astral is completely useless, and you might as well just GG out. Just straight up just GG out. You're not gonna win that game. Solmir, however, is, in my opinion, the best hero currently in the game. And I have 2 reasons for that. First of all, he starts with Sorcery. Sorcery being a skill that actually affects Fire Shield, and Ogre Fist is insanely good later on in the game. And yeah, the Sorcery actually affects Fire Shield, then you have an Orb of Fire as well, and you're gonna get like 60% damage return to the enemy when Fire Shield procs with the Sorcery specialty, which is amazing already. Then on top of that, he also is the only hero out there right now that can actually one-tap summons on equal mana or even less no, sorry, not mana, spell power on equal spell power or even less than your opponent. He is by far the only hero that can do that because of the Chain Lightning specialty. He's basically going to do like 25% more damage to the air elementals, and it's amazing to have, honestly, because that is a mechanic right now used very often, especially in month 1. If you fight it below like 2-1-1, most games end up in a summoning battle, and Solmir is the only one that can counter that. So overall, first of all, you have Chain Lightning, so it's really helpful early game, especially if you have Power or Knowledge Arty in your biome. You're gonna use that Chain Lightning and mostly be able to break even like 1-3-1, which is an amazing timer right now, honestly. And on top of that, he obviously has the 2 huge advantages in the final fights compared to Astral, which is you can one-tap summons, and then you have the sorcery specialty, which gives you a lot more damage for like Meteor Shower, for Fire Shield and Chain and so on. And yeah, I really like Solmir. I think he's one of the best heroes to have right now for sure. I don't really understand why people pick Astral thinking that is actually better. I mean, I can maybe see some kind of tempo early on that you just roll into Earth Magic. It saves you a Magic University maybe. It could be decent or maybe even better if you can fight below like month 1 and you have super high tempo with boxes. Sure, Astral might be better, but I would say 95% of the games Solmir is gonna be way better off there. And yeah, other than that, I guess you have Josephine and probably Risa. Tower actually has very few heroes. I would say Daramith is definitely a choice as well. I mean, Daramith starts with Intelligence, which is not bad, honestly. But she has a dead specialty. It's Fortune Specialist. You don't really have any like early tempo with her. I mean, I would say probably 3rd hero compared to these two, even though I would place them like on the same level right now, because the reason for that is Risa and Josephine have Mysticism, which is quite nice to have, honestly. I mean, you're basically not needing to go back to your town with a town portal every single turn. You can maybe stay 2 turns outside, then regen mana, which might save you some movement points, might save you a lot of time overall. They're not bad, but as I said, like all 3 of these heroes are probably on the same level for me. And honestly, Risa and Josephine are not really played right now just because they don't have any knowledge unless you get the knowledge artifact, which kind of a 50-50 in a game if you get it or not. So they're not very consistent. That's the problem with them. Afterwards, you have basically 3 dead heroes. You have Pickerdrum, the Gargoyle Specialist, Theodorus, and Halon. I think Halon is specialized in genies? No, he's specialized in mysticism. Okay, so it's kind of whatever, I guess. But yeah, these are not really played ever. Like you don't even look at these heroes when you play a hero, honestly, as tower. It's usually one of these 2 or at best one of these 3 if you feel spicy and you think that you're gonna high roll a lot and so on. But yeah, these might as well just be removed in my opinion. They're not doing anything right now. And yeah, that's pretty much for tower. I do think it's probably one of the most controversial towns in terms of hero picks between these 2. They're like super close together on high rating right now. I personally prefer Solmir. I would never pick Astral, but hell, if you think you have better tempo with Astral, go for it. I mean, I can see why, as I said. I just don't understand why people would go for that super early tempo on like week 1, basically, and not have that huge advantage in the final fights instead. It can depend a lot on the type of game that you want to play, I guess. Then Inferno. Honestly, Inferno is probably one of the worst towns by far right now in terms of hero picks, which is probably why the town itself went from being like an A tier town to probably like a D tier town or C tier at best. And Inferno is still one of the towns that, in my opinion, should actually go for a Demoniac, I think it's called, which is their Might Heroes. Yes, Demoniac. And then you have Marius. Honestly, Marius, in my opinion, is still the best hero for Inferno because you can demon farm and it has really good potential early on and later on in the game as well. Plus, if you have like a demon box or 2 demon boxes, you can go straight into a top on week 2. You might get knowledge from that in the first place, therefore you don't need to high roll like a super high knowledge arty and so on. That's definitely one of the best heroes for Inferno right now. As I said, you would still want to go Might just because their hero Aiden, which is probably second best right now, is actually an intelligence specialist, which is really good. Like, that's an amazing hero to have in this version of the game. But he starts with 1 knowledge. You're literally playing a mage that can't do anything until he gets at least 1 knowledge, which you usually get from the bunker, but basically for like the first 6 or 7 days, you're not gonna do anything with Aiden but collect knowledge. He's like struggling to do boxes, he has no offense, he's not really getting a good skill tree either, because in my opinion he rolls into fire like 80% of the time, so you might want to buy a university anyway. And if you buy a university anyway, I honestly think that Marius and probably Fiona or Namos are gonna be a lot better, which are also the next 2 heroes in the list. But yeah, Aiden can be decent, but he's like, why do you start with 1 knowledge? You know, that's the question you ask Aiden every time. But yeah, afterwards you have Namos, you have Fiona. Namos was actually my preferred hero in Age version. I was always going for Pit Lords, and it's amazing as well to go for them. They do amazing damage. If you find like 1 Pit Lord box, you're already set up for the rest of the game. But yeah, he or she, I'm not sure, starts with no knowledge again, and being a Might hero, it's really difficult to progress into the game right now. You basically need to high roll, that's the thing. Like with Marius, you might go demon farming and you might go for like an early Utopia, so even if you don't high roll, you're just behind like a few days, but then you actually have the advantage of the army and the demons. But with Namos right now, if you don't high roll anything, you're gonna struggle to do a Utopia early on like week 2 for sure. And you might not be able to break on week 3 either with one of these 2 heroes. And Fiona, I mean, she was preferred by some people in Age version. She has scouting, right? Has some really decent early tempo, especially if you find some dog boxes. She's not bad, honestly. But again, Demoniac starts with 1 knowledge. Not amazing. Yeah. After this, you actually have Axis, which I think was a sorcery specialist. No, mysticism specialist, right? He might honestly be decent to pick, but not really. It's like a controversial hero, basically. Do you want to stay outside of a town? Do you not have earth magic or something? Then sure, he might be decent, but I would say it's like a 50-50 and it's not consistent at all. So I would personally never pick this hero. Then I would say you have Ceron, which was a hero that was actually just introduced in this version. Honestly, I've wanted to kind of play with it a few times, especially if you get paid a lot to play Inferno right now. He might actually not be that bad, because you might be able to go into Devils on like week 2 at best, right? And in that case, he could actually do rather decently well with a lot of Devils early on. Then you have good tempo for Desert, but again, it's a Might-based hero that needs to high roll a lot of resources, some knowledge artifacts, a lot of boxes to get started on. Not quite the best. Like, if you think you can high roll and you want a Devil game, I think Ceron is actually a decent pick though. Then you have Olema and Zidar. I mean, not really picked ever. Olema is a weakness specialty, then I think Zidar is the sorcery specialist. Zidar could honestly be interesting to play, but I would never pick it in a real serious match, so yeah. This is gonna be my ranking for Inferno right now. And next up, it's also probably somewhat controversial, but Necropolis comes out. And even though I actually placed Necropolis on like A tier, I think, on the town tier list, I would probably go up to S tier even right now. And the main reason for that is they have Vidomina. Vidomina for me is probably one of the best heroes in the game right now. She has amazing potential in terms of army building later on. And then she also has a really good chance to get earth magic super early, which means that you most likely don't need Magic University. Like, I don't know why, but she rolls into Earth like 80% of the games, like first level up, which is amazing for me, because you just get to town port and right away around your towns, you get to collect all the vampires, and usually 1-1 to like 1-3, you already run around with Vamplords and you kill the entire biome with Vidomina. Then she has the Necromancy specialty. Obviously, it's amazing because later on you can farm a lot of skeletons. I've had multiple games so far where I ended up on like month 2, week 1 or month 2, week 2, which is still rather early on with like 2 or 3k skeletons already. And honestly, she won me multiple games that I shouldn't have really won. So really amazing hero, in my opinion, by far the best hero from Necropolis. But the reason why it's a little bit controversial, I would say, is because a lot of people still prefer to pick Caitlyn. Caitlyn being one of the heroes that actually starts with Meteor Shower, just like Deemer. And yeah, I mean, Caitlyn can have really good tempo early on, but I would say not amazing right now, because as Necro you want to play with Vampire Lords. That's like the main attraction of the entire JO patch right now for I version, is you want to play Vampire Lords because you are guaranteed to have 2 Vamp Lord boxes in the biome, and if you find them, you are gonna be set up for the rest of the game. While Caitlyn might have a better chance doing those boxes and like maybe even finding them if she rolls into scouting or something, right? It's not like better than Vidomina in my opinion. Still, I mean, first of all, I don't necessarily like the fact that she starts with Wisdom. It's gonna be tougher for you to get into Earth Magic and Air Magic to Expert, while with Vidomina you might be able to even get Earth Magic right away, as I said, or buy Air and Earth from the university, which is amazing. And yeah, I think Caitlyn is below average in my opinion right now compared to Vidomina, and I can see why people still pick her. I would personally want to test her out as well, because I think I only played Vidomina games so far, but I used to play Caitlyn a lot in H version, and it didn't feel like the tempo you have for the entire game is that amazing, honestly. So, yeah, I would definitely say Vidomina is one of the best, and Caitlyn. Then you still probably have, I would say Sandro, maybe Tamika as well. Tamika obviously starts with the specialty for Black Knights. You can go for like a full might hero. If you roll Helmet as well, you might be set up for the rest of the game. You can go into Dread Knights later on. You can maybe do early Utopias with some zombies. He starts with offense. It's not a bad hero at all, honestly, to go for. And Sandro's a sorcery specialist, and I think he has slow. He has slow, right? Sandro. Yeah, Sandro starts with slow, and he's actually, I think, one of the only heroes, or the only hero that starts with slow in the current version. It could be interesting to actually try to pick that, because it's actually one of the counters to Ogre Fist. You slow the haste afterwards, and you're actually kind of set for the rest of the fight, because the slow can't be removed unless you have Caitlyn with Cure. So yeah. But yeah, these 2 heroes definitely still picked. I have seen them before being picked as Necro, and I still think they're very good. But I don't think they're on par with Vidomina or even Caitlyn at the point. Because yeah, they have like nothing to get started on early on, while these 2 heroes have full control in week 1 and Vamp Lords pretty much. So it's decent heroes, but not amazing. And afterwards you have Aisha or Ishra or Isra or whatever his name is. I would say that he's still preferred by a lot of people. I mean, I remember Rito, for instance, was only playing Ishra in H version already, and it's probably even stronger now. But he specialized in necromancy, and I still think that Vidomina is always going to be better just because they have the same specialty, but one is a mage, one is a might hero. Therefore, he's not really going to be picked in this version, I feel like. But I do think he has the potential of being a really good hero. Then, oh, I actually missed a hero from Inferno. Okay, Xarfax goes there. He's useless anyway. Alright, and other than that, honestly, I feel like I want to try Vokyle out, just because he's specialized in Vamp Lords and that's how you play Necro right now. I feel like it would be a decent test, probably a decent hero as well, but he starts with Artillery. And as someone in my chat once said, the only reason to go Vokyle is to shoot skeletons in space as a meme, so... yeah, I don't think he's a very good hero, honestly. It's an interesting hero to maybe try out, but I don't feel like he's gonna do anything in the game for you. So yeah, other than that, the other 4 heroes I would say are pretty subpar again. Nagash and Clavius both specialized in gold, right? They get 350 gold every day. Then Charna, I think, is specialized in whites. Again, does nothing for you the entire game. And then Xai, stone skin specialty, nah, just nah. They don't really do anything, they're never picked, they never were picked, and that's how it's going to stay probably for a while. And yeah, that's all for Necro. As I said, it's probably one of my preferred towns right now. I definitely like Vidomina as well. It's an amazing hero to go for. And on to Dungeon. Dungeon, honestly, I could just do this and then delete all the other heroes right now. Because they literally don't matter. You have Demer, probably second best hero after Solmir. Definitely S+++ SSS tier for Dungeon. Not even close to any other heroes you could go for. I mean, maybe like Dace, just because of the Minor specialty, or Sepiroph would be like A tier right now for Dungeon. But you have Demer, you have Scouting early on, he rolls into Earth very often as well. Then he has Meteor Showers with like double vortexes. You can do pretty much all the boxes in your biome. You can also break on 131 or 127 almost every single game. He's super consistent right now. And yeah, if you play Dungeon, you're gonna play Demer. You're not gonna play anything else, which is kind of sad. Obviously, I feel like Dungeon had a lot more variety last patch. I mean, there were a lot of people playing Demer, but a lot of people playing Dace or Damakon or even Lorelei very often, which is probably the fourth hero right now still. But yeah, Dace, Minor Specialist, very good hero, might based. If you high roll some boxes, if you high roll some knowledge artists, he can still do amazing. You can still break on week 3 with him almost every single game. Then you have vortexes to help out with the low mana, so it's actually not bad to go for Dace. But he does have tactics, I think, which kind of sucks as a skill. You're not gonna get expert air, expert earth as easily as Demer or other mage heroes, so not the best, honestly, in my opinion. And then you have Sepiroph with intelligence specialty. She also gets +1 crystals every day, which is actually not that bad in terms of building army and like upgrading stuff. If you have a lot of marketplaces, you can trade them for gems. It helps you out building minors, so not the worst hero. Then you have Lorelei with Harpy Specialist, which actually I think is really good early on, because you might even be able to do like a super high tier box on like day 1 with Harpies and just kiting if you have like trees or something, or earth elementals maybe guarding it. And then of course you have Damakon, the specialized in gold hero. He starts with advanced offense, I believe, and yeah, again, just like Dace, if you high roll some proper artists, might not be the worst hero to go for, honestly. And other than that, I mean, it's just below average heroes. I feel like Mutar Drake was introduced this patch, but he doesn't really do anything. He specialized in dragons, but nobody goes for dragons because they're immune to Ogre Fist, and everyone goes for Ogre Fist. Therefore, dragons are useless unless you fight like week 3 and you're immune to magics and you can kite. But that never happens, honestly, so yeah, like Mutar Drake might be interesting. Then Ajit, I think, is specialized in Beholders. Also decentish hero, but not anywhere near close to these top picks here. Then Malekith, Darkstorm, Jaegar, Arlak, they do nothing for you. Like, I'm not gonna even talk about their specialties. I mean, maybe Arlak with the artillery specialty might help you out like on a tier 3, tier 4 box that you could do super early on, right? But other than that, they're just not happening. Not sure why I placed Fortress here first, but I guess I'll start with Stronghold next anyway. And Stronghold, yet again, is very controversial right now, honestly, because a lot of people still prefer to go Might Heroes, and I can see the appeal. I honestly feel like Shiva and Krelion are still extremely good to go for Stronghold, especially if you high roll a Helmet or a Knowledge Arty or like 3 Knowledge at least in the bunker. You might be set up for the rest of the game and they're amazing, but in terms of actual efficiency, actual utility in the final fights, I actually think Sorug is by far the best hero to go as Stronghold. The reason for that is that every single Might hero for Stronghold does not roll into water magic. And everyone knows by now that, first of all, clone is extremely broken. With Expert Water, you can even clone Archangels or like Behemoths or something, which is amazing to have in the first place. And on top of that, one of the biggest issues going Behemoths or Ancient Behemoths as Stronghold is actually not being able to teleport them. And if you have to fight in a siege, you definitely want to teleport your behemoths out or into the castle. And Sorug actually allows that to happen. On top of having water magic, she's one of the only heroes that has interference. And interference plus Stronghold with a really good might-based army will win every single game in month 1. In my personal experience, either playing Sorug or playing against Sorug so far, Sorug had a 100% win chance in that game. And by far, like, it wasn't even close. Basically making your opponent have like minus 15 power, and then you have probably more army than them with ogres or with birds, like if you get a lot of bird boxes and so on. Sorug is absolutely amazing to fight early on. And as Stronghold right now, I honestly feel like the best chance you have to win the game is to go for an early fight, like week 3 or week 4 in the side biomes, or in middle if both people push middle in the first place. And honestly, just by having the hero Sorug, you might win the game. Just by the fact that you have interference, you might simply win the game that early on. And yeah, I would say that afterwards it's probably Shiva plus Krelion. Krelion, the reason is being he has interference as well, but his might, he doesn't get water magic, and honestly, I've had really hard time building into ogres ever. So at best you have like unupgraded ogres on you that are super slow, they make you slow, and it's kind of meh. While Shiva obviously plays with Thunderbirds, you can get a lot of dwellings early on. You might have an amazing game with her. One of the reasons that they're actually not very high in this list though for me is that they never roll into freaking diplomacy, which I think is a very relevant factor still in the game, especially if you go 2 side zones, which everyone does. You can get some early diplos, which might win you the game again. And yeah, barbarians have like a 5% chance to roll into deploy. It's horrible, and 50% of the games that I played with them, I didn't have deploy and I cried because of it. So yeah, I would definitely say Sorug, then probably Shiva and Krelion here. Afterwards, I don't think that Stronghold really has any heroes right now, just by looking at the list here. I mean, Jabarkas could be maybe interesting, or Yogg if you actually go into Cyclops ever, but that never happens. And I guess Gurnison has some decent tempo early on with the specialized ballista. Could be decent as well because you have artillery for the town sieges, but yeah. Other than that, you have 3 useless heroes, never picked, never talked about. I mean, honestly, Gerd might not even be that bad in terms of having sorcery and specialized sorcery again. Because of Fire Shield, you might find some use for it. But I would say this is the tier list for Stronghold for sure. And yeah, going next, we have Fortress. Fortress, I feel like it's one of the towns that, again, are like 50-50 between the mages and the might heroes right now. Reason being that Andra, probably the preferred pick for Fortress, is not really amazing at doing fights early on. I mean, he has intelligence, he's really good later on if you get to that point, or if you go for Wyverns, but Wyverns take a while to build up. To upgrade to Wyvern Monarchs, you need a lot of resources, a lot of gold. Therefore, with Fortress, generally you don't have a lot of tempo, and I feel like Alkin is still a decent pick. Just that Alkin lost a lot of Gorgons in the process of getting nerfed overall for Fortress, and he never rolls into deploy either, so he's kind of annoying to play with, to say the least. He also doesn't have very good skill trees, in my opinion. He always gets water magic instead of earth or air, and it's difficult to play with Alkin. And overall, it's difficult to play with Fortress in general right now, so I would say that's probably going to be Andra, specialty intelligence. You have very good potential. On like after week 3, you might be breaking almost every time week 3 with Andra as well. If you find the Gorgon box, you have very good early control. But basically, the only reason why you'd pick Alkin right now is if you think you're going to get some early day 1 boxes into like a Gorgon box. Maybe you get lucky and find one on the road. And then you're still set up for the rest of the game, just like in Age version, plus full control. So it's not bad, but yeah. I need to catch my breath a little bit. Damn, this is a long video. Okay. Coming up, you probably have Brogild. Brogild is still very good. He starts with scouting, he specializes in Wyverns, and I do think as a Fortress right now, most of the time you go into Wyverns in the first place. I feel like they're not bad units at all. You probably gonna go into a Utopia like week 2 or week 3 with Broguild as well. He's not bad. He has really good might stats, but you kinda need to find the proper helmet, and compared to Alkim, he does struggle a little bit in terms of army. I mean, if you find a Gorgon box with Alkin, you're basically set for the rest of the game, while with Broguild, you need to find a lot more than that. So he's gonna be third pick for me. Afterwards, I would actually place Bronn right now. Probably Bronn then Adrienne. Bronn for the reason that, in my opinion, you get like freaking 15 Basilisk boxes every single game lately, especially with Gorgons being nerfed. It feels like Basilisks are a lot more often to happen. I mean, it's Basilisks and I guess Serpent Flies, but overall I would say Bronn is pretty decent. I feel like it's never picked just because people don't care or they always pick these 3 heroes, but I feel like it's definitely a worthy test to happen, to maybe go Bronn and see how well he does early on with Basilisk. He also starts with them, so it's not necessarily a bad hero. Then as my 5th pick would be Adrienne. Adrienne starts with, I think, Inferno especially. Yeah, she starts with Expert Fire Magic and Inferno specialty. And early on, you might actually be able to do even a Gorgon box on like day 1 or day 2 with her, which is quite amazing. Just because of having that Inferno helps a lot. Especially if you find like a Tabard or something, it's really good to have this hero. But the fact that she has Fire Magic, it's not amazing. It is Expert right away, but it's somewhat of a dead skill right now because everyone plays with immunity to Berserk. And the only reason you'd go for Fire Magic in the first place was to have that Expert Berserk. If you have immunity to it, the skill becomes irrelevant. And yeah, she basically has a dead skill, but I do think it's a very strong potential pick here. And afterwards for Fortress, I'll probably go for Korvac, just because of the Serpentfly specialty, and you get a million freaking Serpentfly boxes lately, so not a bad hero to have, but he has Pathfinding and Armorer as his skills, which are 2 completely dead skills in my opinion right now, so yeah, this is like the last hero that I would potentially pick just to see how it does with Serpentflies and like super high early tempo with high roll tempo and whatnot, but overall, not a good hero. Dead skills, just like Adrienne, just like I think Bronn as well has some dead skills. Wait, no, Bronn actually has interference. Okay, so that's decent for him. But yeah, other than that, all the other heroes for Fortress, I would say probably never picked, which is kind of sad because I feel like there's some potential here. I mean, Gerwolf, for instance, with the artillery specialty can do a lot of things early on. Verdish with Wyverns and Tents can do some things early on as well, but they're like way below average. Nobody really cares about them, right? And I think Rosik has like Mysticism, Stig has whatever. Stig has Sorcery, okay. So Stig would be decent as well, but nah, not really. Then on to Conflux. Honestly, Conflux yet again is one of the most balanced towns in terms of picks. I think that if you put like Aenian, Luna, Labefa, and probably Fure, these 4 are like super close together. With Conflux, you're very easily to go into Magic University, therefore you can pick up Earth Magic right away. So Fure as a Might hero not doesn't hurt too much to go for that. However, Labefa is probably the main pick just because she starts with Earth, therefore you can go between towns very early on. She's a mage, she gets a lot of knowledge, right? Aenian second with Air Magic. Then Luna, honestly, just like in JC, I've actually had the Luna game I was practicing and I broke into Desert on like 1-2. Then I went into the side biome and by 1-7 I had hundreds of ogres because it was a Stronghold side biome, which could be amazing, but it depends a lot on what kind of break you have, and I don't feel like it's consistent game with Luna, but you can still buy Earth Magic on her right away with a University. It's just expensive, just like with Fure. While with these 2 heroes, you usually don't buy the University at all. You just roll with like double DD for Aenian or with Expert Town Portal with Labefa very early, and they're rather decent. But I would definitely like to see some Luna games, especially from other people as well. I feel like she has a lot of potential right now. And then Fure as well. I honestly feel like it's on par with the other heroes here. Like, I don't think it's worse or better than them, because you can still buy earth magic and air magic from the university. Then you just need to find some knowledge. Usually the bunker sets you up with some already. Then Fury actually has some really good potential early on, right? You can do very good boxes with low army. You can do early utopias. So he might get the missing tempo on like week 1 or week 2, later week 2 or week 3. And then you actually have probably a decent hero as well for the final fights. He obviously gets a lot more attack and defense, which is really good right now, so pretty decent. Then I guess you have CL. CL was kind of more preferred in Age version, I guess, than now, but I feel like she went down a fair bit in utility because she starts with Magic Arrow, but most of the time you go for a Mage Guild anyway. So while she has a better Magic Arrow, it's not like it's making a huge difference. And honestly, getting Frost Ring in the bunker for most of these heroes with Wisdom, I feel like it's more utility than the Magic Arrows from CL already, so she is losing the tempo she had very early on. And other than these 5 heroes, I don't think the others are picked very often. I think an interesting pick here would probably be Lacus, just because he has, I think, advanced tactics to start with. Yeah, he starts with advanced tactics, and it's not exactly a dead skill, especially because you can actually work with water elementals a lot. In my opinion, you actually get a lot of water elemental boxes as well, which is quite nice. He's specialized in them as well, so it's not a bad pick by any means, but not as good as the others, and you do have to buy a university for him, so it's not amazing either. And yeah, other than that, I mean, you probably just have all the heroes here. I don't think they're ever picked. I don't think they will be picked again. Which is kind of sad because Conflux actually has a lot of variety in terms of heroes. They have almost every single hero in the game without a lot of bans. I mean, I think it's only Brisa and Grinden that are banned. Actually, no, Monair as well. But compared to every other town, like, they have some of the most heroes here, I guess, them and Castle. Which I would like to see more of these heroes being played, but I don't think they actually do anything for the later game stages here, or having any early game, any early tempo in the game either. And yeah, Cove again, just like Dungeon, you could just find Yovashis in the list, and that's it. I mean, honestly, Cove, Yovashis, amazing hero, clone specialty. You get clones right away. You have super good tempo. He has intelligence, which is absolutely amazing as Cove as well, because you might just double DD from like week 1. In my opinion, he gets a good skill tree as well. It's almost always either water magic or earth magic as his first level up. So honestly, not a bad hero at all. Probably third best hero after Solmir, Dimir. Then I would say Yovashis, then probably Vidomina. But yeah, Cove overall, decent hero to have. Yovashis, other than that, I feel like probably Elor, maybe Annabelle. These two are might heroes though. They're not as good because they don't start with a lot of knowledge. You do need to obviously get Helmet early on, which is not amazing. Then you might have Jeremy, I guess, still decent-ish hero to have, honestly, because it gives you some tempo early on. And it's not like the worst thing ever, but I honestly feel like Jeremy should be only picked if you're gonna defend in a town. And you have the artillery specialty, so you can actually use the towers and hit whatever you want, which is really good to have because you might focus down some power stacks. You're forcing your enemy to use earthquakes really early on. You can also kill the the catapult right away, which is quite nice. It's honestly not bad to have Jeremy in the final fights at all. But in terms of tempo, Yovashis is going to be way better every single time here compared to the other heroes. And yeah, sadly, I don't think the others are really amazing. I mean, I feel like Kasmetra is probably the only one, which I think is this one. That has some potential early because she's a specialty in Sea Witches. She starts with water magic as well, so it's not like she has a dead skill. And overall, she's decent-ish, especially if you have some Sea Witch boxes in the biome. They do an amazing, insane amount of damage. So, on Kasmetra specialty, it's decent to have, but as I said, not as much tempo as the other heroes here. She doesn't really have any utility in the final fight either, in terms of specialty, so not great. And then All the other heroes, I'm not gonna bother going through them because yet again, they're not doing anything for you. I don't think they're ever picked. I've never seen any of them being picked in the first place, and yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. I think that Cove has Yovashis, Conflux has Labefa. Then I guess Fortress is between Andra and like Brogeld or Alkin if you want to go Might. Stronghold, you're most likely gonna go Sorug or Shiva if you prefer Might. Dungeon has Deemer by far. Necropolis, in my opinion, has Vidomina. Then Inferno is probably Marius or Aiden. Tower, Solmir or Astral, again, a bit controversial there. Rampart has Elashar, then Castle has Caitlyn. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is for all of these heroes. I do feel like the mages overall, as a TLDR, are gonna perform a lot better in this version. They have a lot of tempo early on because of the control, they get a lot of knowledge. A ton of these heroes have intelligence as well, so they're even more likely to have full control with like double DD plus 1 teleport every single turn. And you get a lot of tempo with them. But I do think there are some towns obviously that might still make sense. Like I said, Inferno makes sense, Stronghold and Fortress maybe make sense as well, but other than that, I do think that you want to overall go for a mage. It's better tempo. And I think every single one of these heroes actually, that are like placed either on spot 1 or spot 2 here, can probably still break on week 3. So while some of them might be better than others or having more utility than others, I do think they are close together. And I do think the template right now in terms of balance is actually close apart when it comes to the heroes. But yeah, that's gonna be all for the tier list. I will probably link this if I can like save and download. I'll figure this out afterwards. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It took me a long time to make, so feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think the best heroes are, if you agree with my picks. I'm actually quite curious to see more variety here. I would definitely hope that a lot of people would prefer to play other heroes than the ones I mentioned, because I do think they're fun. I really do think they're fun, and I can't really get to test them myself. Playing at a very high rating, I obviously have to play very seriously. So I'm going for the best heroes that I think are the best heroes usually, and yeah. That's pretty much all there is from me. There might be a part 3/part 13 coming up for this tier list, because I'm thinking next up to make a guide for every single town, what you should go for, what you should try to accomplish, and your goals basically, all the way up to like week 3, trying to break early on with every single town, with pretty much every single one of these top heroes. I would like to showcase them. I'm not sure if I will end up doing that. I might simply post some games from stream, if I can make like one of each basically game for each of these towns. I might just simply post that, maybe with a commentary on top, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It took me a long time, so feel free to subscribe. There's gonna be a lot more content coming up, special only for YouTube as well. And if you want to catch me live, I'm streaming every day on Twitch, KiraHexD. It's gonna be a link down below in the comments. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.